The United States restating, quote, unwavering commitment to the Philippines as the allies begin their yearly Balikatan military exercises amid ongoing conflict in the Middle East. More than 17,000 sailors, airmen and soldiers are taking part over 19 days from partner nations Australia, Canada, France, Japan and New Zealand. Japanese troops involved for the first time as active participants. The war games will feature live fire exercises in the north of the Philippines facing the Taiwan Strait and in a province of the disputed South China Sea, where Philippine and Chinese forces have faced off repeatedly.
Regardless of the challenges elsewhere in the world, the United States' focus on the Indo-Pacific and our ironclad commitment to the Philippines remains unwavering.
We remain guided by a shared commitment to uphold international law, to respect sovereignty, and to contribute to a free and open Indo-Pacific where nations can thrive without coercion.
And China warning against action that it says could undermine trust and deepen division in the region. While there is opposition to the drills at home as well, protesters gathered in Manila accusing the government of allowing foreign troops to use the Philippines as, quote, a playground to test their weapons. Nick Harper is tracking developments for CNA, joins us live from Washington, D.C. Nick, 17,000 personnel taking part and about 1,400 from Japan taking part for the very first time as an active participant. What's the significance of that?
Yeah, hugely significant, Wei Su, at a time when the United States' focus has really been on other parts of the world. If we think back over the last 6 months or so, the United States has been heavily involved in the Middle East, with Gaza last year, of course, with Iran at the moment. And at the beginning of this year, it was all about Venezuela. In Latin America, really Asia has not been at the top of the United States agenda. So these drills coming when they do, I think, will be very important to reassure Asia-Pacific allies that the United States is still focused, still engaged in the region. But it's also a message to China as well. At a time when the United States' focus has been elsewhere, the US is saying to China, well, look, we're still keeping an eye on the Asia-Pacific region and still showing that we have the backing and those important partnerships there with the Philippines and other countries, because the scale and the scope of this year's annual exercise is really unprecedented. The fact that Japan is taking part, but we're also seeing the likes of Australia, France, New Zealand, all of them taking part, with 17,000 troops in total, but 10,000 coming from the United States. It is a vast contingent this time around. And we've also heard from the US spokesperson who's in charge of these drills, Colonel Robert Burns, saying that these drills represent an opportunity to showcase an ironclad alliance with the Philippines and demonstrate our commitment to the free and open Indo-Pacific. It really plays a part for the whole of the regions, not just that alliance with the Philippines. Also, the US says it underlines alliance readiness, regional stability, and those shared goals as well. China, of course, not happy, saying that this is creating instability at a region at a time when there should be peace instead. An annual exercise, and this time round certainly one of huge importance.
Thanks. Nick Harper there, live from Washington, D.C. Dr. Colin Coe is Senior Fellow, Institute of Defense and Strategic Studies at RSIS at Singapore's NTU. He speaks to us, of course, from here, right here in Singapore. Dr. Coe, we just heard from our correspondent there, the largeness, the scope and the scale of this year's Balikatan. But size and scale, there are several parameters for size. When we talk about biggest ever, do you see this as the biggest ever Balikatan exercise, and in which areas?
Certainly, Wei Su. When it comes to the scale, in terms of the turnout of participants, I think this is, as Nick mentioned, is unprecedented. And I think particular focus has to be put onto Japan. It is the third largest participant after the US and the Philippines. And this is an unprecedented turnout in terms of the number of assets that were deployed by Japan. We're looking at 3 key naval platforms that were deployed by the Japan Self-Defense Force. And we are also looking at, of course, which is rather unprecedented, the maritime strike that will be conducted by Japan using one of their anti-ship coastal defense missile battery as well, that is in the northern Philippines, and it has clear implications, of course, with the Bashi Channel. But overall, in terms of the scale, in terms of the participation, and of course, Japan's actual first-time active participation after being an observer for a number of years, ever since the signing of the reciprocal access arrangement with the Philippines.
We'll get back to Japan in a moment, but for now, let's take a look at the United States. So it is keen to reassure allies in Asia that just because it's involved in the Middle East or in Venezuela, it has not taken its eye off the Asian ball. If you look at assets alone, so deployment of naval assets, do you think the US has in any way deprioritized its focus on Asia?
This is a very nuanced observation here, because I think on the one hand, certainly a number of key naval assets which were deployed earlier to the Western Pacific have been redeployed to the Middle East because of the ongoing war in Iran. And for naval blockade, we'll expect all these naval assets to be tied down for a while before new assets will replace those assets in the Western Pacific. But for now, it appears that the US military is trying to compensate with other assets from other services. For example, we see a more prominent role played by the US Army in this case. We see, of course, the US Air Force deploying assets to the Philippines even before Balikatan. I'm referring to Exercise Thunder, whereby a detachment of F-22 Raptors were being deployed to exercise with the Philippine Air Force. And of course, this time around for Balikatan, the turnout of U.S. naval assets pale in comparison to the Japan Self-Defense Force this time around. But by and large, all these seem to also indicate that despite the capacity constraint and shortfalls, the U.S. Indo-PACOM is very keen to demonstrate its continued commitment to this part of the world.
So it's not just assets, though. It's where those assets are being tested. So you mentioned the Bashi Channel, a very strong message there, if unspoken, on Taiwan, and firing live strike drills on the island of Itbayat, which is just 155 kilometers away from Taiwan. That's a message that will not be lost on Beijing.
Yes, certainly. Now, the thing is that if you put that into context, it's important to consider the strategic importance of the Bashi Channel. If you think about a Taiwan contingency, then we are referring to the key waterways, both south and north of Taiwan. For example, down south of Taiwan will be Bashi Channel, which will be what we believe to be a highly contested waterway in terms of conflict. We're talking about Chinese military forces trying to get out past the first island chain, which is past Taiwan, right into the Philippine Sea, which is considered by a number of Chinese scholars and military thinkers to be a key arena for future military confrontation with the US. And of course, I think we have to look at it also more broadly in the context of Japan's ongoing defense build-up concentrated around the southwestern islands that is close to Okinawa, which again is close to Taiwan. So if we put all that into context, the undertones regarding Taiwan cannot be lost.
Oh, thanks so much. Joining us this evening, Dr. Colin Koh, Senior Fellow, Institute of Defense and Strategic Studies at Singapore's RSIS.